Hey, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to another video. Now today is going to be a little bit different of a format than you guys are used to, because we're actually going to be slowly saying goodbye to one of my cars. It warms my heart to see that you guys were so concerned about me selling the little Honda Civic. So I just want to preface this by saying that I'm not going to sell the Honda, but what I'm actually going to be selling is my 2006 Subaru Legacy GT Spec B. Now for those that have been around the channel for a while, I bought this maybe, what, 4 years ago? Man, that's so crazy to say. Of course, I bought this from a vehicle auction. Had a little bit of body damage in the corner, and it also had a broken timing belt. And for those that don't know about these Subaru Boxer engines, is when the timing belt breaks, the valves will hit the pistons. So they kind of call this an interference engine. And what I actually did is I went out and I did a JDM EJ20X swap. So I thought that the basis for today's video will be beneficial for you guys in learning how to maybe do an engine swap in your Subaru. But also I just wanted to go through the exterior and the interior of the car to show you guys why the Spec B is so special from a normal Legacy, because on the outside, it basically looks like a normal Legacy. Sleeper car, if you will, just has little touches here and there to differentiate it from what it actually is. So I think what we'll first start off with is on the exterior side. So if you're able to go out and see a Legacy GT, the dead giveaway if this is a Spec B is usually in the wheels and tires. So they actually bumped these up to an 18-inch wheel, and these are only specific to the Spec B. And also for the year of 2006 for this car, there was only 500 of these made, and they came in this grayish color scheme with a brick red leather interior, which I'll show you guys on the inside here in a little bit. And what I actually did is I just put a fresh set of tires on this. So it has the Continental DW06 Plus. So this is a really good tire just for all seasons. And that's the beauty of this car. I actually drove it for such a long period of time just as a daily driver. And I feel like that's where it really shines. When you come to the back of the car, you don't really see anything out of the ordinary. Of course, on this one, it has the very factory option Tastefully Clap sticker, which I'll make sure to also leave a link down below. That's a total shameless plug. And for the rest of the exterior, again, you really don't see anything that steps out of the ordinary, but the one thing that this one has is it has the Nameless Performance muffler delete. So if you really want to get underneath here, there's actually no mufflers behind this car. So it gets pretty rowdy if you want it to be. But the thing is, for a car that is basically has straight pipes coming out the back, it has got to be one of the most civilized muffler deletes I've ever heard on a car. Really, there's no drone, it's not obnoxious. I don't sound like the Civic at 3 a.m. or anything like that. And that's really all it is on the outside. But I think where it really shines, honestly, is just gonna be on the inside. This came with all the bells and whistles that you could ask for in 2006. And it comes in this really cool brick red leather interior. The things that you're gonna see right off the bat, it even has heated side mirrors. I don't know if that's a Legacy GT specific thing, but something really cool also is that it has this GPS navigation from 2006, which you guys are probably gonna laugh at and just think is kind of goofy nowadays, but for the time, this was very sophisticated and something that only came on the Spec B. So usually this would just be kind of like a storage bin, but on this one, it gives you stats to tell you your gas mileage. I mean, this is gonna be a huge nostalgia trip for people that went through the struggle. If you had to go on mapquest.com and you had to print out the piece of paper that basically gave you all the information of how you're gonna get to your destination, you don't know the struggle. So this, at the time, this was premium stuff. So this one has 216,000 miles, which I know is pretty high mileage for a Spec B. But the thing is, with the Legacies versus the WRX, is the demographic of people that end up buying these and using these for long periods of time tend to be people that are ready to take care of it much better than a WRX. Because as you guys know, I've gone to so many auctions and I see these WRXs and STIs that look like they've just been absolutely abused and tortured. But when you go to the Legacies, even though something like this in a higher mileage example, you can tell that somebody was very meticulous about this one. So it is number 152 of 500. And you can sit people in the back very comfortably. And again, in this color scheme, it's something that you're just really not gonna see from Subaru, because this was kind of at the era where Subaru was more of an enthusiast brand rather than where they've kind of pushed things, and now they kind of look like a a souped up Toyota Corolla, if you will. And I know a lot of people are gonna hate my guts for saying that. And I'll show you guys exactly what I did when it comes to the engine swap. So the EJ20X is not what came in these cars. What came in these cars is called the EJ255. So it's a 2.5 liter dual overhead cam turbocharged boxer engine. In this case, this is actually a 2 liter. So for the first thing that people are gonna be wondering, why would you go to a 2 liter from a 2.5? And in my experience and in my personal opinion, for what I've experienced after going through, you know, the multiple rebuilds that I've done on these Subarus, is the fact that the JDM 2 liters hold up a little bit better than the 2.5s. Because as history has taught us, the 2.5s have a tendency to get ringland failure or even low compression in cylinders, whereas the JDM 2 liters actually hold up a little bit better, and it's totally a preference thing. And I just thought, since the valves hit the pistons on a higher mileage EJ255, even though I could have gone out, rebuilt the heads, put new valves in it, new timing belt, water pump, and all the bells and whistles, it's still kind of a high mileage engine. So I thought, instead of doing a full rebuild, why not just put a low mileage 2 liter engine in this? So for people wondering what it's gonna take to do the 2 liter engine swap into this, it actually goes pretty quickly and pretty smoothly. And the nice thing is there's a lot of stuff that's gonna be very interchangeable for you in terms of the EJ255 accessories. So you're gonna see right here, I even left the painter's tape from when I did the swap. And the EJ255 intake manifold, for example, you can immediately transfer over to the 2 liter and everything's gonna line up correctly. You can take all the accessories, the AC, the alternator, all of this stuff is gonna transfer over pretty seamlessly for you. And this is also the EJ255 intercooler that goes on top. So a lot of this stuff is so interchangeable to the point where it doesn't take too much for you to just kind of figure it out, and it's almost like putting a puzzle back together. In this case, it has a intake from Cobb, also a turbo inlet that I put on here from Perrin. All this is really gonna do is just change the audible induction noise that's gonna be happening, so you hear a little bit more of the goodies and the spooliness of all that. I actually ended up maintaining the stock downpipe. Now a lot of people, they'll go fully catless, and what that actually means is you run no catalytic converters. But since I've gone fully catless on my WRX, the one thing that always kind of bugged me is the fact that it gets kind of stinky. So the car is a little stinky, but it sounds glorious if you want to go fully catless. But I think it's plenty of noise for me in the state that it's currently in, so I'm totally fine with that. The biggest indicator with the EJ20X is they also came with the twin scroll turbocharger. So this is the VF38 twin scroll turbocharger that came on these cars. But the one thing that you're gonna know when you put it into a USDM car is that the downpipe will not be compatible. So you have two avenues that you can go with this. You can either keep the twin scroll turbocharger, change the downpipe, and you're all set. And what's cool about the twin scroll is it's a little bit more complex. May not be as reliable as a single scroll, but the noise that they make and the way that they go on power is just really a spectacle to see. But what I actually ended up doing is I went to a single scroll VF52 turbocharger. So this is out of a 2008 Subaru WRX. You know, very similar in terms of power delivery from the 255. I think a lot of people were asking me, you know, once I put this up for sale, what was going on with this one and why would I do this? But the VF52 and the responsiveness of the 2 liter versus the 2.5, it's a very discernible difference in being able to see what the power capabilities are of this one. And this is also sitting on a set of teen coilovers. It's also got the camber plates for full adjustment. So you could totally slam this car if you want, but in the configuration that it's in, I just wanted to keep it for daily driving because again, it's a really nice, just all around cruiser that you can use every day. It's very practical. And to keep the ride height to a certain degree, it has a little bit of a drop, but it's nothing outrageous or obnoxious in any way. So again, I think for somebody, it's a very niche car, and I completely understand that. And I don't think it's gonna be the easiest sell in the world. I think it needs to go to the right person. And I'm more than happy to be a little bit patient with this one to see that it goes to somebody that's truly gonna enjoy it for what it is. Because I would really hate to see this one just get binned right into a tree after I've spent all this time and effort and money in putting it back together. So I think what we could do is we could take it out for a quick spin, maybe do some outside shots, flybys and things of that sort. And then we kind of just wrap it up and say this is probably the last video that I'll make on this car. And I actually didn't end up making too much content outside of just rebuilding it because it's just been really wonderful. I haven't had to do much to it outside of that. So it hasn't been a great content machine for me because it hasn't been a complete disaster, which I actually think is a blessing, but at the same time, it wasn't as involved for you guys. But in something that I'm gonna look back on and be like, man, you know, I had a really fun time with this one. I feel really grateful that I'm in a position where, frankly, I just have too many cars, man. And this is just kind of what every enthusiast has to go through. I think that what happens too is I get very invested in them, and it's very hard for me to let go. So anybody that knows me, I just hold on to these things like they're my children. But I know that I have to get better at just letting things go because, one, it will open up the opportunity for something new, which will make it much more exciting for you guys. And two, I don't want to be a hoarder. I don't want to have lawn ornaments. I think that is maybe in like 20 years, that's where we'll be at, honestly. But I really hope that I can get good at just like being able to let things go and move on and just move to the next thing. I don't know, Ray, I'm getting like this weird knot in my stomach. It's like, I know that I should probably let this one go, but I do actually really genuinely enjoy this. And the thing with the Spec B too, is the fact that you get upgraded suspension versus what you would get in the regular Legacy. So what you actually get is you get some lower control arms that are made out of aluminum versus steel. So it makes the car a little bit more lightweight when it comes to unsprung weight and the turning ability. And on top of that, the struts are inverted, just like you would get on an STI. So it has that rally-inspired suspension setup. I think it's still a McPherson-style strut, but you can definitely tell the difference when you make a turn-in or anything, and of course it just makes all the right noises. I mean, it just sounds insane. For such a mundane-looking car, you'll catch so many people off guard because when you roll by and it's just making all these pops and crackles and rumbling, it just sounds incredible. But with everything in life, all things must come to an end, and I think unfortunately with this one we're kind of meeting that at its full capacity. And it's not going to be the full-blown rally car. This is more of the one that gives you all the features that you would want in an enthusiast car from Subaru, but also catered to the fact that you can actually just wind down and enjoy it and roll up the windows, turn on some AC and put some soothing music and just cruise along just like we are right now. And I think that's kind of the true beauty of this thing, is you really get to utilize it for what it is. And like I was saying earlier, even though this is a high mileage example, it's very hard to find these Spec Bs with low miles because these turn into the workhorses. These are the ones that get driven on a daily basis while everybody puts their garage queen away. So that's almost like the double-edged sword of this situation with this vehicle, is that they are so useful in their utilitarianness, but also at the same time, it's going to be very hard for you to find an old Subaru like this that doesn't have the miles racked up on it. But it shouldn't discourage you in any way. And like I said, this one's got a fresh engine swap in it, so I'm assuming that it's going to go for a very long time. I hope that you guys really enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. So, take care. Like and subscribe for more.